The DS7 Crossback E-TENSE 4x4 represents this luxury French brand's more distinctive take on what a D-segment luxury plug-in SUV should be. It can take you over 30 miles without emitting any CO2, manage 128 miles to the gallon, sprint to 60 in 6.5 seconds, and even extricate you from a muddy car park on your annual trip to Glastonbury. In short, it's a bit special, and it's styled that way too. Looking at the various electrified alternatives the current car-buying customer now has on offer, it's sometimes hard not to think that the plug-in hybrid option is arguably the best. Mild hybrid tech doesn't make much difference to overall efficiency figures, and full electric models still carry the scourge of range anxiety. So, being able to plug in to extend the range of a conventional petrol engine with a lithium-ion battery charge makes as much sense now as it did when we first saw plug-in models hit the market nearly a decade ago. When it comes to SUVs, you'll generally need a mid-sized or larger one to be able to specify plug-in technology. The PSA Group makes a number of the various C-segment SUVs that offer it. Cars like hybrid versions of the Peugeot 3008, the Citroen C5 Aircross and the Vauxhall Grandland X. Plus, the French conglomerate has also used the same tech for a slightly larger, more luxurious model that sits in the D segment just above. This car, the DS7 Crossback E-TENSE 4x4. Unlike the DS brand's smaller electrified model, the DS3 Crossback E-TENSE, this car isn't a full electric SUV. Instead, a 200 horsepower 1.6 litre petrol turbo engine beats beneath the bonnet, its efforts boosted by a 13.2 kilowatt hour battery that powers an accompanying pair of 109 horsepower electric motors, which together boost total power output up to 300 horsepower. That equates to a useful 450 newton meters of torque, which is transmitted to the tarmac via an 8-speed auto gearbox. 62 miles an hour from rest occupies 6.5 seconds, and when fully charged, this car can cover up to 31 WLTP rated miles in zero-emission form, though you won't go anywhere like that far if you explore the possibility for an 83 mile an hour all-electric top speed. There are 4 drive modes available. Zero emission is the default setting, which sees functioning only using its electric motors. More commonly, you'll be running in hybrid mode, which sees the electric motors and the engine working efficiently together. If you're pressing on, you'll use sport mode, which is engine only. This is a 4x4 model, and if you're off-piste, you can make the most of that by engaging a 4-wheel drive setting, which activates the rear axle for all-wheel drive. Visual differentiation points setting this E-TENSE variant apart from more conventional models in the range are few. There's special badging, and this electrified variant can be had in this exclusive pearl crystal paint shade. That's about it. As with the conventional versions of this model, the styling is distinctive with lovely detailing, particularly here at the front end, the look of which was inspired by the avant-garde DS Divine concept car of 2014. We particularly like these exotically intricate DS Active Vision LED headlamps, which emit a purple light when the car is unlocked before pivoting by 180 degrees, in a nod to the original 50s DS model's clever swivelling front lights. Moving to the side, there are the usual roof rails and the normal mid-level crease that flows just below the glasshouse. This one loses itself in the back door before reappearing to emphasise the rear haunches. Large 19, or as in this case, 20-inch wheel rims are standardised on E-TENSE models. Possibly our favourite perspective is the one that's usually most forgettable when it comes to cars of this kind, the rear. The wraparound tailgate is embellished with what the brand likes to call hypnotic rear lights, super slim 3D strips with scrolling indicators, each lamp a full LED made up of illuminated scales. Of course, what's more important is what you can't see. This model sits on a longer version of the PSA Group's EMP2 platform than do the conglomerate's equivalent Peugeot 3008, Vauxhall Grandland X and Citroen C5 Aircross plug-in SUVs. The brand saves its biggest and boldest flourishes, though, for the interior, which is intended to be an extrovert celebration of everything that's cutting edge in French fashion. Contrast stitching, exquisite surfacing and quilted leather features in copious quantities appropriate to the Parisian-themed trim package that you've chosen. There's even a high-end analog clock. The E embossed into the gear knob control is apparently a nod to the DS E-TENSE electric concept car. Even the techno-fest that must rather incongruously fit in around all of this frippery can't escape the Louis Vuitton treatment. So the supersized 12-inch infotainment touchscreen that struggles to fit in at the top of the centre stack gets a strange barrel-style crystal-like centre volume dial. And, like the 12-inch instrument binnacle TFT monitor, can be configured via a DS sensorial drive feature to display its information in shades of either cashmere or titanium. Rear seat space is good. Even for a 6-footer sitting behind quite a lanky front seat occupant, the legroom on offer should be quite sufficient. The backrest reclines from 23 to 32 degrees in rake electrically on this top model, which is nice for longer journeys. Unfortunately, though, there's no sliding mechanism for the seat base, which is a pity. What you can't have with this plug-in variant is this Model Line's usual third seating row. In compensation, out back, the boot of this electrified model is exactly the same size as that of a conventionally engined 5-seat version, 555 litres in size, which is massively better than the restricted 395 litres you'd get in a directly comparable Audi Q5 TFSIe. If you need more room and use these cargo sidewall catches to push forward the 60-40 split seat, you can free up 1,752 litres of total fresh air. The case for plug-in hybrid powertrains can seem quite compelling, or at least it would be if this technology was more affordable. In the case of the DS7 Crossback E-TENSE, it adds around £9,500 to the cost of an equivalent Blue HDI diesel model, a not insignificant premium. Though when you get right down to it, the cost of this car isn't actually very much higher than Peugeot is asking for the directly equivalent version of its hybrid four-wheel drive 3008. To be specific, prices for the DS7 Crossback E-TENSE 4x4 start from around £48,000, a sum which buys you the most affordable performance line variant. Another £3,000 gets you mid-range prestige trim, and if you can find just over £56,000, you can get yourself the top ultra prestige flagship variant that we're trying here. These figures are roughly in line with what you'd pay for direct competitors like Audi's Q5 TFSIe and the Volvo XC60 T8. All versions of this model get big alloy wheels of at least 19 inches in size and DS active LED vision headlamps that adapt to road conditions and feature high beam assist. Inside, also standard, are the two large cockpit screens, the 12.3-inch virtual instrument cluster and the 12-inch centre dash infotainment monitor that incorporates voice recognition and DS Connect navigation. Amongst other things, mid-range prestige models get the clever DS Active Scan suspension system and an upgraded Rivoli trimming package that uses premium quilted Napa leather and diamond-shaped decorative features. This top ultra prestige variant features a special opera interior trimming package with a stitched leather dash, a panoramic glass roof, a premium Vauxhall hi-fi system and larger 20-inch wheels. As with rival plug-in models in this segment, the efficiency figures here are certainly eye-catching. There's a 31-mile WLTP rated electrified driving range. The WLTP mixed fuel consumption figure is rated at 128 miles to the gallon, and the WLTP CO2 reading is 33 grams per kilometre. The DS engineers reckon that even running the car in its more usual hybrid mode, where the engine and the battery work together, you should still average under 50 grams per kilometre. All of this assumes you keep the car fully charged. If you drift into using it just in petrol-powered form, your returns will drop like a stone. But let's assume you're fully bought into making full use of the electrified tech. On the move, energy is regenerated whenever the driver decelerates or uses the brakes, which extends the battery range. Another function, e-save, also allows the driver to save enough energy to drive in all-electric mode for the last 6 or 12 miles of a journey. The map on the centre dash touchscreen shows to the driver in real time the distance which can be driven in the car's all-electric zero-emission mode, or where charging stations are available nearby. This E-TENSE model's battery can be charged in 2 hours using a 32-amp wall-mounted terminal with a 6.6 kilowatt charger, or in 8 hours with a traditional 3-pin domestic socket. What else? Well, a little annoyingly, the fuel tank is 20 litres smaller than it is in a conventionally engined DS7. Blame battery packaging for that. Still, enjoy the tech. Through a provided MyDS app, you can program or switch on charging and follow your car's state of charge on your smartphone. The warranty is an unremarkable 3-year, 60,000-mile package. This car will be vanishingly rare, but then so are its direct competitors from Volvo and Audi. Perhaps incredibly, we're still some way from the financial tipping point that sees plug-in petrol engines make more sense than smoky diesels. Which is a pity, because cars like this ought to be selling in greater numbers by now. Governments should be incentivising them, and manufacturers should by now have worked out a way to produce the technology more cheaply. But none of this has yet been sorted, so we are where we are. And where we are in this case is in a slightly different space than that occupied by competitor models from Audi and Volvo in this segment. The DS7 Crossback E-TENSE has a more distinctive feel than those cars. Not one that'll suit everyone, but if you're sold into plug-in tech, want a luxury D-segment SUV, and like the thought of something a little different, then this is where you might like to start your search.